Melissa Chavez.
Yeah.
We've been having some technical issues. Thank you for working through this with me on now day 2 of attempting to do this.
No problem.
I saw you on that what is it? Not Waymakers, Makers Media, Makers.
We are makers.
We are Makers. We are Makers Media podcast, and thought, man, let's do this thing. All right. Well, you're a creative. You've grown up a creative in a creative household.
Yeah.
You've had some chronic back stuff that I wanted to ask about. And then you have nautical themes going through your art and a lot of beach time, I guess. I mean, you're in Georgia. Where are you at?
I am in Georgia.
Okay.
But I was born in Florida and I have a ton of family.
Okay. And your daughter to Latin parents.
My
correct?
dad.
Your dad.
Half and half. So my
okay.
dad, yeah.
Okay.
And she's from New York.
She's from New York. Whereabouts in New York?
She's from Rochester area.
Okay. My wife's from Long Island.
Oh,
so
cool.
They spend a lot of time in Florida, those guys do.
Nice.
I mean, the snowbirds, all the New Yorkers and the New Englanders.
They do.
It's like a migration every year. So my wife's New York Italian, and she's pretty dark for an Italian.
Yeah.
And so she's like, when she was a kid, she said, I have black friends and I have white friends, but mom and dad, what am I? She didn't know who she was.
Yeah, there's a ton of where I grew up. And so there's like people from everywhere, and I love that.
That is awesome. That is great. We got to go visit when my daughter, I guess, was 1, so we were about 4 years married, and we get to go visit her. And she's grown up here in Texas. My wife has.
Yeah.
Sorry, this isn't about my family here, but we get to her Aunt Dale's house, and she starts talking, and she just totally transforms into this new person. I'm like, what in the world? My whole context of knowing her has been in America, and then in Texas, and then overseas. I've never heard the talking, you know. But it was fun.
That is funny. My mom doesn't have an
Okay.
American because she was from Rochester out in the
yeah, it's a little bit the other side of the state. Yeah, upstate. Is it upstate?
Yeah, it is upstate.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, tell me what it was like. You said your folks met at art school, and I have a bunch of kids that are growing up in a creative house. I want to know, what am I doing to my kiddos here?
You're doing. So
I hate making you repeat yourself. I'm really sorry about that.
Nah, it's all good. Like technical difficulties happen, right? So they met at the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale, where they went to college, and I forget which class they met in. I think it was like basic design or something. I don't know, but they both ended up being graphic designers. My dad started as actually in fashion design.
Oh wow.
But then he switched to graphic, and then my mom always wanted to do like just like painting and like drawing and painting and like fine art, but her parents were like, no, you can't really make a career out of that, and so they wanted to do something else practical, so she ended up doing graphic design because she didn't want to teach, which is funny because now she's an art teacher and she has been for a really long time. But growing up, like my mom had a craft closet, and it had like anything a kid could want to pretty much make anything you wanted. It had like paints and like all different kinds of paints and pencils and all different kinds of papers and just like popsicle sticks and like all different like clay, like polymer clay.
Oh wow.
And so that was super fun. Like we would go outdoors, but we would bring like sketchbooks with us, and we would sketch. We would go. Always had. They were always
had sketchbooks. Well, that's a step in the right direction. Wow.
Yeah, so we always had that, and then like we were just always doing something creative, and I just feel like it made you see the world in a different way because you're looking at like colors and shapes and like shadows and light and like noticing things that I think other
Yeah.
people normally don't. And so I feel like that was a great gift, to be able to see the world in a different and brighter way. So I
Well,
love that.
that's the main thing that I learned in art school was you're learning how to see. I
Hmm.
remember all the exercises where we're drawing with our left hand or you're doing the blind contour and it's like you're
Yep.
learning what you don't see, what you don't see. You're learning how to see. So you got that early on.
Yes. So like, I mean, I remember my mom doing the blind drawing with me.
Really?
I don't know how old I was. I was pretty young. Because I asked, it was always like she didn't make me do any of that. It was like when
Huh.
I had, she would answer it and she would show me. Like I was like, how do you shade? It would show me how to do shading, you know. Um, so stuff like that.
How do you feel like that changed your perspective or I don't know, going through high school, going into college? If you went to college, I don't know if you did or not.
I did.
Yeah. Most people are I think you're a little bit younger, but most people in our stage of life did, but it's getting to be more trendy now not to.
It
Just
is, yeah. I'm about to be 36, so
okay.
that's my age. So I think we're fairly close,
I got a
probably.
decade on you.
Oh, you got a decade on me.
I got a
Wow.
decade on you, yeah.
All right. Yeah. But yeah, definitely in my generation, it was like, you go to college.
Yeah,
But
it was never a question in my
no.
I was just like 13th grade,
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. So as far as it changed, so I've always been a creative. And I think, I don't know, maybe it's different, but like I'm also quiet. Like, and so like I was always kind of in the background. And in school, I also took up music, which is actually what I ended up majoring in college,
Huh.
which is also another creative field.
Yeah. Was this at
Um,
Fort Lauderdale too, or did you go somewhere else?
no, I actually went to BYU, Idaho, which
Oh, is
is,
that right?
yeah, I went,
Uh-huh.
so that's in Rexburg, Idaho.
Okay. Oh my
Uh,
gosh, so beautiful up there.
it is so Tetons and Yellowstone and all that stuff. But well, I went to 1 year of school, Kennesaw State in Georgia, and then I transferred to BYU, Idaho. But I did also study art. I was an art major for a little while, and then I switched my major to music, and then that's what I ended up graduating in was performance.
How was so I went to Baylor, which Baylor is Baptist, and it's
Okay.
really Baptist. And you
Yeah.
went to BYU, which is pretty Mormon.
Yep.
So what and as an art student at Baylor, it was a different art experience than the UNT. My sister went to University of North Texas.
Yeah.
A bunch of UT friends. A&M didn't have an art program. That was actually where I was heading until I realized they didn't have an art program. What was that like? The art program at BYU?
It was interesting because I actually did the art program in both the state school here, so at Kennesaw,
Okay.
and then I still was an art major when I transferred to BYU. And
Okay.
so in the state school, we had nude models
Okay.
and
Yeah.
for the figure drawing and everything. And then at BYU, they just wore like skin tight, like a skin tight bra and like skin tight nude underwear for the girls. And
That's
then
what
just,
it was at Baylor as well.
yeah. So
Uh-huh.
that's like the major change, I would. And also like, I don't know, like my particular professors that I had at Kennesaw State were not as nice as the professors that I had out at BYU
Yeah, I'll bet.
art program. I mean, they definitely still had like, you had your oh gosh, I'm blanking on the name when critiques.
Uh-huh.
They definitely still had critiques, but it was very much like, be sure to have a positive in there too. A positive about their piece when you're college student, and then also obviously actually critiquing their work. But yeah, I mean, you're learning the same principles, you know. So I think the biggest change is probably the professors themselves.
Yeah. It
The
seems like
general.
you had a pretty positive experience
Oh
with
yeah,
the BYU professors. Yeah.
I loved my professors. Like, my favorite was the head drawing class. I loved the head drawing, and I like the figure too, but it's hard.
Okay. Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah. So,
Wow. I had similar experience. Like I loved my Baylor. I had several, maybe three, maybe four Baylor professors that were also mentors. Like I would say they're mentors. They were just like really, they had a profound impact on my life beyond just teaching me. Baylor was really rigorous on the basics and getting the skills down, like
yeah.
getting those tools in your tool belt to be able to draft and figure and this type of stuff. And whereas I think like I don't know about UNT. Actually, UT I know is very conceptual from the beginning. Like you just got to be speaking. I didn't go there, so I can't speak to it. And anyone watching this that went to UNT, God bless you. I love it. But Baylor didn't do a whole lot of the political commentary, and it was not as much of the, you know, what am I trying to say? You know,
No, I get what you're
the symbolic stuff and speaking to power and speaking to whatever. It was more just, can you do the work?
Yeah, I would say it's very similar. Like they did focus a lot on the basics. That's what makes a good artist.
Yeah, but you had a leg up because you were carrying around a sketchbook from a kid. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you started in art, but you wound up in music. Is that right?
Yeah.
Did you get a minor? Was it like you switched majors and you kept a minor, or how did you do that?
Yes. So I kept my minor in art, and then my other minor was so.
Wait, say it again. It cut out for a second.
Oh, my other minor was in
Spanish.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Did you grow up speaking in the home or no?
No, like that is totally on me. My dad tried so hard.
Did he?
I was so stubborn, and I did not want to learn because it's hard, right? Learning, like put yourself out there and sound kind of dumb, you know, because you don't know what I'm saying. And when I was younger, that was like such a big deal. Now that I'm older, I'm like, man, I wish I could learn Spanish from my dad when I was growing up.
Yeah, right.
Stubborn, but yeah, no.
Wow.
So
you had it kind of in the my daughter was born in Indonesia, and I have experience learning second languages. But we moved away from Indonesia when she was maybe 6, and then we were in Malaysia for a few years, which is a similar language.
Wow.
But she's just started doing Indonesian on the Duolingo. She's like 120 days in or whatever. She's just killing it. But she's got it kind of like it's in those repressed memories of she knows the sounds, you know what I mean? And she sounds good when she talks. So I guess it was in there when you were learning in university.
Yeah, for sure. It's not the same as speaking in person. Like I'm definitely not fluent, but I am working more with my dad. Like we're trying to speak more Spanish because I'm like I do want to be fluent hopefully someday. So on and off, we're working on it.
Come on. That's great.
Yeah.
So the nautical themes, you were like, it seems like everything that I've seen on Instagram is nautically themed.
So
shark teeth were a prominent feature.
Yeah, shark's teeth were prominent. So my aunt, she lives like a couple blocks from the beach in Florida. Which is really nice. But she had a shark's tooth hunting since like, I don't know, as long as I can remember. Like I was just like a little kid and I would follow her around and she'd like put her toe down and she's like, ooh, I wonder if there's something here, you know? And I'd look and I'd find the teeth. And so our whole family does it together. And my mom is also, okay, it says it's reconnecting, but Can you still hear me?
I hear you.
Okay. So my mom is way into fossils, minerals, and rocks. And so growing up, we were always part of like the Georgia Mineral Society, and we'd go around looking for fossils and rocks and stuff.
Huh.
So she has many interests. So that is also very ingrained in me. I love
So
that kind of stuff.
what did they land on? So your dad was started out in fashion, which is an
Yeah.
interesting choice for a Colombian kind of coming to America. He's first generation. I
Yeah.
guess you're first generation.
I'm what is that? Second? Is that second generation? Because my dad is from I was born here.
Does that
I'm
make you
first
first or second? I forget. Yeah.
I'm first generation American, so um yeah, but actually it makes sense because Colombians are way into what they look like and their
Oh,
fashion
really?
sense.
Okay.
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't know that.
yeah. So they're way into that kind of stuff. But yeah, so he ended up in graphic design,
Okay.
and my mom did too, and she worked in graphic design till started. Well, so she had me, and then she was a stay-at-home mom for like all of my life growing up until I
Huh?
was older. And then she started teaching. Well, she taught like on and off sometimes, like on the side art. But now she's been bought. It's like a local art center for like I don't know, like 15 years or maybe
Oh, wow.
more.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she teaches like watercolor and colored pencil. Her main
Huh.
medium. So, and she's amazing. She's really really
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
Did your dad stay in graphic design?
Yeah, he did. So
So holy cow,
like
you got two parents in the creative industry, like they stayed in it, because that's kind of
yeah.
unheard of, isn't it? I mean, it's not common at all.
Yeah, like well now my dad is not he'll do like some graphic design things on the side, but he hasn't been doing graphic design for a little while now. But all through growing up, that's what he was doing. That was his job.
What's he doing now?
Now he works for Amazon. Um
Okay.
like a normal
Yeah.
job that pays bills.
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at, because it's tough to be a creative and to support yourself in the creative space. And I've listened to a few podcasts. It's like, it's darn near unheard. Most people have their main gig and then they're doing this on the side. But when you making it your main thing, it's kind of difficult.
Yeah, I mean, my dad did really well for a long time though with the graphic design. Like he was able to support us really well throughout like high school and because I have a younger brother, so for me and my brother. Uh, but then yeah, like something happened with like the economy. I forget what year it was, but it was like right when I was going into college. I think it's like
6, 7,
2007.
8.
Yeah,
That's the big one. The last big one.
yeah,
We're heading into a big one right now.
I know. So yeah,
Wow.
that's my.
Okay, so he took a different type of job after the crash of 2007.
Yeah.
And your mom stayed with the art center after when you went to college, I guess after your brother got out of high school.
Yeah. She started I think when he was in high school. And then
Okay.
been doing that since. So
Okay.
yeah.
Wow. Well, what insights would you offer related to making creativity your profession? Insights from growing up in that household, and then insights from just trying to do it for yourself for a while.
Yeah, I would say like if I was talking to my kid when he
Yeah.
grows up, practically I would say try to find something like maybe painting where you could do that and have it be stable,
Mm-hmm.
but also have your passion project on the side And who knows if that passion project could support you full time later. Because I know there are a lot of people that do that and it
Yeah.
works.
Right.
But you do have to put a lot of time into it, you know, with Instagram and everything, like all the posting and like
Oh, girl.
being more. It is.
It's ridiculous.
It's rough, man.
I'll tell you what I found. I found repurpose.io. I'm not affiliated or anything, but it's like you post it to YouTube and then it distributes it out, or you can post it to Instagram and it goes out to the other platforms. That's made my life so much easier having used that. But still, like I spent 2.5 hours yesterday uploading shorts and scheduling shorts. Like, this is so stupid. But
people,
it's the game.
Time. It takes to like even make a reel. Like for one of my reels, I haven't timed it or anything, but it's like it takes a long time for me to sit there and like put everything together and edit down all the clips that I want and put the music to it and like, you know, all that different stuff. Like it takes a long time.
It takes a long time. I'm sure Amazon or whoever's Facebook Meta is delighted that we have to be on these things, but yeah, I kind of wish I was at the potter's wheel more than at the computer desktop here.
Yes, exactly. I think a lot of us struggle with that.
Yeah. The business stuff is so interesting. I've been a creative most of my life. I didn't grow, I guess my mom was similar. She had a lot of creative hobbies. Actually, my dad was similar too. He's brilliant, but he didn't get into the Chicago literature program, which was like the best of the best, because his dad, he didn't know, but his dad was overseas. He didn't send in the application. My dad's a smart guy, and he went into law school instead, and he just got all these law degrees. So he kind of like put all those desires to be a writer on pause for 40 years. And he writes books now, but he definitely didn't in the most, you know, productive years of his life. You know what I mean?
That is interesting. My husband was an English major in college.
Okay.
But he doesn't work in that field. But hopefully someday he'll be able to write stuff, you know.
But similar. It's similar in that like it's more about learning how to see, and it's more than like learning how to think, right? Like I had an English teacher in college. I remember her saying she was a Christian Palestinian, Israeli Palestinian. Wow. And she was like, she was so Gatz, and she was Christian Scientist, I think. I'm trying to remember that right. But anyhow, she at the freshman English course, she's like, you can't think in language that you don't have. Until you have language, you can't think those thoughts. And that's why, you know, oppressive regimes often they control the words that we use and don't use, you know, the language. Yeah. Anyhow. Yep. So it's, you know, the value of having that degree, or not even having the degree, but just having learned to think like that. Like I had my kids reading good literature from early on. I want them reading these books because they'll have these thoughts and they look at the world differently, you know?
They do. My son is this, like we've been reading to him since he was a baby. Really? And loves to read. And I love that. And he also loves to draw, big surprise. He's also art. So it's awesome. I love that he has those things to do.
You know, on the subject of supporting yourself with the art, I get business coaching because I stink at business. And I've been doing this business thing, this art thing, trying to make it a profession for a while. But we went up to this conference last week, and my daughter goes with me. She started going when she's 14. She's 15 now, and now she's just like, she's a creative. She's doing a pottery camp this summer, and her first week is next week. So she's got 36 kids now in her pottery camp, and at $100 a head, 3 days. So she's killing it. She's saving up for a car and she's going for it. But our coach says, MJ, 70% of my clients, he said 60% of my clients hate their job. They just do, or they're not doing it because they love it. They're doing it because time and financial freedom. He said, he kept repeating at this conference, boring business, easy life, boring business, exciting life. And he put that in his camp because he loves music. He was a DJ. He loves he loves, he loves doing the music thing. And he's got all these young artists that he's investing in. He's like, if I could do this all the time, this is what I'd be doing. But I can't. So he's got the grind, and then he's got the creative. But
that's interesting because my mom is mostly adults at the art center,
right?
And a lot of them come in and they're like just so unhappy with what they're doing, like their job, and what do they want to do? Come in and make art. So I just think that's interesting. But
yeah, it is interesting. We'll see on the other side how it all pans out. But
yeah.
Wow. Well, shoot. Well, tell me about this back pain. I saw a post in there about how you throw with chronic back pain, and tell me, one, what's the issue, and is it still bothering you, and how does it affect your work and your life?
Yeah. So this started like after I had my son, like I would say like I think like a year and a half after I had him. And like one day it went out, and then like it never really got 100% better. And so like I've been, I got like an MRI, and I've been to like the pain specialists and stuff like that. And pretty much, it's going to be like a lifelong thing that I'm dealing with. And they don't even know necessarily like why or like where it comes from. But I've got like, 3 of my discs in my back are like torn, and there's like some bone on bone going on. The liquid has leaked out of like the what are those called? The discs. And so basically, like they looked at my back in the scan, and they're like, it looks like an old woman's back. And I'm like, great, that's awesome. But so, I've done a lot of physical therapy for it, and I've like found ways as far as like how I eat to like be anti-inflammatory and stuff like that for most of the time. Can't 100% of the time. On my birthday, I'm gonna have cake, and on like other like still go out for ice cream and stuff like that. But on the whole, I try to be good to myself because my body is just more delicate. But when it goes out, it's like walk, very difficult to be so young and be that way. It definitely gives me a very different perspective, I think, than most people my age. Like I'll talk with my grandma on the phone, and she'll say something, and I'll be like, I understand how you feel. Like that's so like traveling is hard. Like I understand, and that's frustrating. And so, in a way it's taught me a lot of things, but it's also very difficult. And also my husband has just been, he's just amazing. He has stepped it up from, day one, and people help, and just so patient and kind. And so like, I don't know what I would do without him. He's amazing.
Does he get to work from home by chance, or is it more he has to go into office?
No, he has to in the office, but like he'll always make sure, like if my back does go out, he'll make sure that my family's gonna like take care of me. He'll be like, hey, maybe see if she needs like a meal or help in the house or whatever. And luckily, like this year, so I had taken a long break from social media and from pottery because I was like, I need to address this. It had gotten to a really bad point where it was like it was very happening a lot more often, and it was just way worse. And so I was like, I'm gonna take off. I'm not gonna worry about this stuff right now, and I'm gonna focus on my body. And so I've been going to the gym very regularly with my dad to work on my muscle, all the supporting stuff. Thank you. Yeah. So I've put in a lot of work and building a ton of muscle, and that has helped significantly. Like it's never going to like go away 100%. Well, who knows? Like you never know.
Yeah.
But so much better now. So recently I have been getting back into it because I'm like, okay, I have taken this time off to heal my body, and now I can start getting back into the things
Come
that I
on.
want.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been great to get back into it. But yeah, it affected my whole life. And, you know, with trying to be present on social media, there's this pressure to post every day, or like at least post really consistently. And if you don't, you feel like, you know, you're not doing enough or whatever. But I have to tell myself, I'm like, you know what? My back is hurting that day. I just have to not do anything worse until I feel better. So I'm still working on a balance, but I'm like, I'm going to throw when I feel up to throwing, and I can throw just all I'm up to. And then I can wait and I can throw some more later. And like, I'll post when I can post. You know, I'm trying to get like into this healthier space as far as how often I'm posting and everything like that. But it is hard because I do feel the pressure. Like, you should be posting all the time.
Yeah. And I hate that. I
Yeah.
don't like it one bit. I tend to be more of a private person, unless I more introverted in my natural state.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, and when I worked in media stuff, I was always behind the camera or producing, and not in front of the camera, which is another whole issue. But I'm curious. So do you mind if I'm not sure if you have thoughts on this or not, but
Yeah.
AI is kind of going bonkers right now. Everyone's talking about AI, and I'm seeing, you talked about your dad, you know, kind of making the transition in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's tons of creatives that, you know, I was just doing some Photoshop work where I'm just cutting out, selecting around, and now there's the select subject button on Photoshop, and it just instantly, and I'm seeing like on different Photoshop, they're integrating with all this AI. They have these new neural filters on Photoshop where you can like enhance the photo.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on what this is going to do to, I don't know if you have any thoughts. What is this going to do to the creative spaces, and what are your thoughts and feelings on it? Because I have some thoughts and feelings.
I have thoughts for sure.
Tell
My
me.
husband and I have talked about this.
Okay, lock and load. Let me hear what you got.
Yeah. So like, AI in general, first off, I'm like, I don't know, it scares me. I'm like, it's scary that they can like copy people's faces and use them however they want, and like voices, and like, so I like that. I don't know how you would control it, but I feel like it needs to be controlled somehow.
Yeah.
And then as far as art goes, I don't know. Like, maybe it will get, I mean, I'm sure it will get better as time goes on, but I'm like, as of right now, I feel like you can feel the human element in art that people have created versus what AI has created. Like, there is something special in something handmade. You can kind of feel a little bit of the essence of that person that made that object. I just don't think I can replicate that. So I do think it'll be like, oh, it's popular right now, like all the AI art and stuff like that. But people do connect with that handmade stuff. And I think in the long run that people will realize that. Maybe that's just hopeful of me, but that's kind of my thoughts. And as far as like a tool, there are some ways that people use it where it's like, oh, it can generate ideas for you, and then you can like springboard off of that. And I'm like, that's okay. Like, I feel like that's good. Like, that's a good use of that tool. But I don't know. I don't like the like generating art with the AI. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just, what about you?
No, just text prompts. No, I wouldn't say I'm terrified of it. I'm as suspicious of it as you can get.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're not heading in the right way.
Yeah.
But I think this is the way that it's going. I'm a person of faith. I know you went to a school where there's a lot of faith, and I see there being a lot of, everyone's talking about fear of missing out. Like every pundit promoting AI right now is we have to do it because otherwise our enemies are going to do it. Or otherwise your competition is going to do it. And I have fear of lock-in. I have fear of if you start building this as your whole world and everything is, you're locked in forever. And whether something is sentient or whether it's not sentient, if it looks sentient and feels sentient, you have to treat it as such. And we've just been through a whole, like it can be whatever it wants to be, and you have to treat it. And if you don't, then maybe your bank account's not going to work next time. Or maybe, what if you just have all sorts of stuff happening? Like, crap, why isn't this working again? Why I did this. I sent messages on Instagram the other day, and I sent the same message to a man named Steven Salter, a potter from in Dallas that I really want to interview because he's awesome and he's a good guy. Yeah. I sent the same message 5 times, and it just kept erasing. And so whether maybe I said something in there that I wasn't supposed to. I mean, I'm just talking about.
Yeah, like pottery.
But who the heck knows if you offend the AI gods or whatever, if suddenly your life won't work, I don't know. And eventually there's going to get to be a point where you have to be a part of the, the social contract is going to, if you compromise the social contract, you don't get to play. And so.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not afraid of like as far as you said, like everyone else using it, like I don't care if I'm the only one not using it, like now, because it's like, honestly, like, growing up in the church, like
right,
like I was always like pretty much one of the only ones here in the South, so I'm used to different
being the outcast, not the outcast. Sorry, not the outcast, just the different.
No, you are different. Like I don't drink. I don't, do things that like other people do, and I'm used to being different, so that doesn't bother me. I'm like, I'm gonna do what I think is right, and that's all you can do.
I love it. I love it. I listened to this on our way up to this conference. I listened to a Diary of the CEO. His name's Steven something, I'm forgetting, but he had this panel of really brilliant folks talking about AI. Actually, I say really brilliant. One of them I felt like was very spot on.
Yeah.
His name is sorry.
Doing some.
I'm just because it's going to pop up here. I'm going to see it, and it's going to be like. Sorry, bear with me for just a sec.
Absolutely, that gives me a chance to drink some water.
Yeah, drink some water. I wish I had their names here. I have their faces on this. You know what? I might be able to show it. But anyhow, they had so many really exciting, interesting things to say about it. And just write their names somewhere. Oh, Brett Weinstein. Brett Weinstein was not to be confused with whatever the weirdo in Hollywood's name was. Amjad is like the optimist, and he's Amjad. That's a Muslim name.
Yeah.
But he was the eternal optimist. Weinstein is an evolutionary biologist, I think atheist, maybe agnostic. Yeah. And he was actually the guy that I agree with the most on there. Yeah. He's like, you need to treat this thing like it's a new organism, like it's a new species that is showing up, which is why there's a guy named Noah Yuval Harari. He's an Israeli thinker. He's like the most published author in history. And he said he calls it alien intelligence. He doesn't call it artificial intelligence. He calls it alien intelligence. So that kind of fits with the Brett Weinstein's theory of the case. And
I would agree. It is like a new species or something.
Yeah.
Because it thinks,
It thinks. And now that's going to be the way forward. They claim we're moving into a post-human culture. Like culture is going to
like dystopian novels that you read.
I'm telling you. Well, and it really is. Do you remember Brave New World? Do you remember that one?
I don't remember that one. No, I've read a bunch of other ones. But
so 1984 and Brave New World were like the dystopian novels of the 20th century. And 84 is like, you're being watched always and the screen's looking back at you. And, it's kind of more authoritarian
that one because I know it's a good one.
Yeah. Brave New World was the opposite. Brave New World was it's a world of pleasure. It's, you start to feel a little bit of anxiety, you pop a pill called Soma, which is just like body. You just pop, everyone's doing all the everyone's sleeping with everyone. Like, it's taboo to have a monogamous relationship, or to have like, if you went home with the same partner 2 weekends in a row, you're considered taboo. This is in Brave New World, which I think was written in the 30s or the 40s. It was before 1984 came out, which I think is 50s or 60s. But it's interesting. So why did I bring that up? In the book, there's like the haves and the have-nots, the super tech elite, and then everybody else, the riffraff that just lives off of Soma. But there's this third culture. There's this third option, which is called the Savage Reservation. And they live outside of the tech utopian society.
So they're
it's like the what?
They're like the rebels.
Yeah, they just checked out,
Yeah.
And it feels like there's like, I don't know if it's like this in Georgia, but so many of my friends are in the homesteading. It's like a homesteading tsunami right now, is what Joel Salatin calls it.
Yeah. I don't have friends that are doing that specifically, but I feel like a lot of us are more into like, we want to learn how to garden and we want to learn how to do these things on our own. So
I wonder if with the advent of AI, we're going to be doing a lot more of that stuff. Like if the creative crafts and the stuff that our grandparents did is just going to become more and more a part of as we cling to the human experience and we reject human 2.0. Some people won't. Some people just say, hey, chip me up. I want to have those. I want to be a superhuman.
Mm-hmm.
I've been watching X-Men my whole life. I want to be one of those guys.
I feel like we're already seeing that shift, like where they want the handmade. Like you said, like people are getting into knitting more, including me. People are doing pottery and like canning and like stuff like that, which I think is awesome. And I think it is a rejection of this, like, everyone gets their mugs at Walmart for $5, but they have like no soul to them. It's like kind of reacting to that, and we're like, no, like actually these handmade things are really nice, and like have personality. I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like we're not that way. So
I agree. I totally agree, and there's part of me too. And I've kept you long enough, Melissa. I'm sorry. I'm like, I didn't ask you before we started. How long do you got? But I feel like there's a little bit of like the more, better, faster, like we're just ramping up to be as fast and I feel like that's not really the value added that we have as humans. We're missing out on the, like you mentioned your body a minute ago of like, it's more delicate. It's more, I have to be careful with it. Like, I feel like we are not that, what am I trying to say? I live in a world where I believe in a supernatural world. I saw a supernatural world. When I lived in Indonesia, I saw demons. I saw people climb up walls that was like, that's not possible. I saw things that are just, they're real. The spiritual world's a real place, but we kind of forget about it in our material world. But we are small. We're not, we don't live for millennia. We live for, a few years and then we die, and we're little. I don't know. I feel like what we offer is we reflect the Creator's desire for relationship and love, and we can commune. We have community. We love community.
We do.
And anyhow, I'm going weirdo. I'm going spiritual, and this is a pottery podcast, but I think we lose the image of God that we're created to have when we're just chasing after being the best machine, or even the best superhuman. Human 2.0, I think, is a bad idea, for the record. I want out.
No, it reminds me, my parents and I actually went to a Hindu temple a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
I took a world religions class in college.
Yeah.
I love learning about that. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
I remember inside they had on the ceiling, there were tiles, and they were each different. And they were saying that each different tile represents that each person is different and together is more beautiful. And so I love that, and it goes back to art, right? Where I think the best artists aren't afraid to be themselves, and their
You're right.
personality goes through their work. And so, you know, we're all individuals and we have our own ways we see the world and everything. And I love that. And I love seeing that through other people's work. You look at mugs and it's like you could look at mugs from like 20 different potters and they're all like completely different. And that's so cool to like
Come on.
see what other people do, you know?
Well, if there is a God, which I know that it's maybe a contentious subject in some circles, which I think there is, it would take more than one image bearer to bear his full glory. We would need a whole lot of image bearers to showcase all the unique, beautiful things about him. So,
I agree.
Girl, thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
Do you have any other pearls of wisdom you'd like to lay on the interwebs here for all the AIs to exploit?
Well, there's one.
Please do.
So, you know, you mentioned that I do a lot of the beach pottery, but I want to be able to make whatever I want to make. Like, I don't want to be boxed into like one.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like what people say, like, find your thing forever. And I'm like, but being an artist, like, I don't know about you, but I'm like inspired by like all these. Like, for instance, do some work for a local coffee shop, like based on my Colombian. I'm like on like designs of where my dad grew up in Colombia. I put a modern twist on that. So I was wondering your thoughts on that. Like, do you think that like people should like pick a style and stick with it, or should you be able to like just switch around? Because there are benefits to staying with one style, right? Because people look at it and they're like, oh, that's this artist, I can tell. But then it's like, so we're not allowed to explore other. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I love that you're asking that question. I personally like to jump around too. I see the value in building on a style, like continuing to develop it for a long period of time, and that you just grow and expand it. But like, I totally agree with you. Like, it's the difference between, I'm thinking about people that I'm a chronic business starter too. I start a lot of businesses. I have a lot of domain names. I just start stuff, you know, maybe like your mom. And if you don't build one thing for a long time, you don't ever really build really high, you know?
Yeah.
That business coach I was telling you about, you know, he's basically take something, stick with it. And for the business of your life, I think, and for the business of art, maybe that is the right move. But for the work of becoming a deeper human and developing who you are and learning to see and grow, and I kind of think the other side is better. Like, I do want to explore all these different things. You know, I want to learn these different things and speak creatively in different ways. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's conflicted, but life is kind of conflicting. You know, we get married and we have these little humans and we have to keep them alive. And we're like, what are we going to do to keep these little humans alive? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a great question. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
And I think I'm with you. Like, I want to keep exploring.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm just still in the exploring phase. Maybe at some point I will pick one thing.
Yeah.
And just stick with it for a long time. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just still in that phase where I'm like, I don't know quite what I'm going to land on. And I'm just trying different things. I don't know. We'll have to see.
I don't know. Oh, Melissa Chavez, it's such a delight to talk with you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I love talking to you.
Let's do it again. Sorry I went weirdo on you. I hope it didn't weird you and all of our viewers out. But
No, I love weird.
I do too.
I grew up in a household, so weird. Normal is boring.
Normal's boring. Well, great. Well, great talking to you, Melissa, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Sounds good.
All right, so I'm going to press stop on the recording now.